How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So on today's video, we're going to be installing the Wunderladen brass rear caliper bushings, as we can see here. Now you only see two because I already installed them on the passenger side, and the reason I did that is because I wanted to have these out just to compare for you guys, so we can see these are very soft, made out of rubber, versus these brass ones here that will eventually not flex in any circumstances. So the benefits of this are you will have more even brake pad wear. You'll also have a more consistent and firm brake pedal feel. You're going to have improved brake release and longer pin grease life. And the reason that is because it does come with these caps that do a better job of keeping the moisture out versus the OEM stuff. So, and also you're going to obviously have longer pad life. Now, this is what you get. You get 4 of each here. These are to hold them in. So, and then we get 4 additional O-rings here. In the event that you damage these at any point, you can see O-rings in there. You can go ahead and remove those and install new ones if needed. So on this car today, I'm actually doing rear brakes as well, but you could do just the bushings if you wanted to. So if you're doing the rear brakes at the same time, you have to put the car in maintenance mode. Now, if you have automatic parking brake, you have to set that off before you put it into maintenance mode, or else you're not going to be able to compress that piston back in. If you are not doing brake pads, you can just skip that part and skip to just the regular bushing install. These are some of the tools we need. So we got some pliers here for these clips here, some snap ring pliers. You're gonna wanna get small ones here. These holes are fairly small, so big ones will not work. Some pliers in the event that you need to push these in slightly. Now, most cases, if you live in an area where you don't have any corrosion, these will slide right in. Here in Jersey, we have plenty of outside influences causing some buildup and stuff, so we may have to clean it with some sandpaper and then push them in with these pliers. Also, I like to have a pick to remove the clip, and the clip also for the connector, and the clip that holds the caliper into the bracket here. This is to keep it from rattling and stuff, so I like to remove it with that. Obviously some 3/8 ratchet here, and then this is optional, and you do need an Allen, and this is a 7, so you can do it with a wrench too, that works. Torque wrench if you wanted to go ahead and torque that afterwards, and it does get torqued to 18 pound-feet of torque. And then if you're doing brakes, you're gonna need a compressor of some sort. You could also use channel locks, that works well. This, I use Moly Coat for the brake pads, which I apply to all the contact points right over here. And to grease up the inside of these bushings here, I like to use silicone paste, or you could grease up the bolt as well. That goes either one, as long as you get something in there so it moves in nice and smoothly. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're gonna start by removing this. Now, you're gonna wanna try not to chip any paint, obviously. If you get new pads, usually comes with this new retaining spring here. Now, sometimes it is weaker and doesn't fit the same, so I will use the OEM spring here, even though it doesn't look as pretty. And again, if you live in an area where there's corrosion, even more so, but it does a better job. Now, if it looks identical and it feels just as strong and it's just as thick, you could go ahead and use that new one if you choose to do so. Now, I like to pop off these caps here. This is the OEM caps. You have 2, obviously top and rear. And lastly, I like to unplug this here, the connector here, for the caliper motor. Now, sometimes people won't unplug this, and this is under a lot of tension and ends up pulling out the pin. So I like to do that, and I use my pin here, my pick here, 90-degree pick, to kind of get in there and work it. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. Obviously, you won't be able to see it, but we are doing that. And it comes off real easy, and here we go. Popped off real nice and easy. So now we're going to take out our bolts there, crack them loose here with my 3/8 ratchet. Nothing too serious. Again, it's not too tight. And if you don't have a torque wrench, it's fine. Just use a short 3/8 to tighten it. You do not want to break that in there. Flip this upside down. And careful with the strut here. We do have this for the active suspension. Make sure we don't damage that. Now we're gonna push those bolts out. Pocket screwdriver works just as fine as well. Now these you will have to reuse, so make sure you're not dropping these. You can also put some grease here if you live in an area where it corrodes. These are still pretty good. The car is fairly newer. And then you want to apply some silicone paste here on the body of it or inside of the bushing. Either way, it works. It's up to you. So now we're going to go ahead and take our caliper out here. Toss these old pads. So these actually wore out pretty good, but oftentimes we will see them where it's worn out more on top or the bottom or vice versa. So these are pretty straight. But this does offer multiple benefits. So this one, you see it a little bit here. The bottom is slightly more worn out than the top. So hopefully these bushings help correct some of that. So now you're going to have to push out these rubber bushings. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. You could either use a flat head or your pick. And we can see some buildup here. Let me try to bring you guys a little bit closer. Some buildup in there. Get the camera to focus. So let's check out top here too. We can see some of that rust starting to build up there. So this is going to give us some resistance. So we're going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit here, just so we could try to go in as smoothly as possible. I'm using some 3M Scotch-Brite here, and you can use some finer sandpaper as well. You can use some sort of a wire brush in here, whatever works for you to get that cleaned up just a little bit to where that new bushing goes in nice and smoothly. Now we're gonna blow this a little bit. Some compressed air. Try to slide our bushings through. Now these do go in this direction. Like that. Pull them in them now. So that one in super smoothly. Hopefully the bottom one does as well. A little bit tighter, but with a push of a finger, we are in there. So now, install our snap ring here. Slide it until we reach that cavity there. All right, we are in there. Time to do that bottom one. Try not to lose these because they only send exactly 4. So maybe some feedback would be maybe a 5th one, just for good measure, just in case. All right. Some patience here. All right, and we are in there. We are keeping these rotors. If you were changing the rotors out, obviously we would have to take out the caliper bracket, but we're not. These rotors are only about a year older. So when installing your brake pad here, you're gonna wanna make sure the noise maker here is on the bottom to alert you that the pad is low. That one goes on the bottom on the inside, and then this one, nothing here on the outside. And put that in, slides just into place, grease all your contact points. Now we're going to compress our piston here. If you use channel locks, try not to catch the motor here. Obviously the back of the motor, you don't want to press against there. One of these tools is the best thing to use. All right, we're good. Our pins in. start this thing by hand. Okay, time to torque it. We're going to be installing the caps here, and these fit much tighter than the OEM ones, so bring you guys closer. Just push these in, just like that. Bottom one. And just like that, we are all set here. And this is what it should look like. Now, last thing to do here is hook up our connector here. Now, I would do this regardless if you're doing rear brakes or not, just because you don't want to stretch this and end up breaking a cable. Does not take too much effort to get those on, and we virtually got no play here or anything like that. These are for the 10th gen and 11th generation Civics, but also fit 10th and 11th generation Accords, obviously the TLX, some CRVs, anything that really uses this rear caliper setup, you can use these bushings on. And I've had these on my car for about a year and a half now. Definitely noticed some more even pad wear on my personal TLX. I take a peek back here and take a look. Everything looks nice. You also get a little bit better brake pedal feel, which is a nice addition. So that being said, hopefully this video was instructive and helpful to somebody out there. If you have any questions, make sure you drop a comment down below, and I'll catch everyone on the next one.